Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Elkin Bailey. I was born in 1845. Now, you may or may not know anything about me, but you probably know something that I did here in town and built, and that is a bank. You see, I was the vice president of the Forest Grove National Bank right here in downtown. But what you may not know about me is that for many years I was a farmer, and I still consider myself as such. You see, growing up in Indiana and Iowa on my father's tobacco and hay farm, I learned early on how difficult life it could be for a farmer and the struggle they would have from year to year. So when I became an adult, I determined I would not go into farming. So when I graduated from Knoxville Academy in Iowa, I decided I would teach. Well, that was my plan anyway. When I arrived in Oregon, I did teach for a few years, but the farming life called to me. And so I, along with my father-in-law, Mr. Shipley, we farmed on the A.T. Smith farm just south of town. We became one of the largest growing hay farms in the area. Well, I did that for 10 years, farming at the Smith farm. And then I became the station agent for the Southern Pacific Railway for 10 years. And then I decided I would open up a mercantile store, a dry goods store, right on Main Street. I cleverly called it Bailey's Dry Goods. And it was there that we would sell all kinds of things for the farmers, special clothing, dry goods, and even hayseed. But it was there, too, that I realized that there was another need in the town for farmers. You see, growing here in the Willamette Valley, we have an agricultural paradise. But from time to time, farmers need a hand, from year to year, depending on their crop. And so they may need a loan to help them from one season to the next. So I, along with my colleagues, we gathered around the potbelly stove in Bailey's Dry Goods, and we pooled together an incredible amount of money at the time, $25,000 in capital. And we started the First National Bank of Forest Grove. Well, I was the founder and the vice president of the bank, and I was also on the loan committee, which meant that sometimes it would be left up to me to decide whether someone would get a loan or not. And that weighed heavily on my heart. Well, they kept me on as vice president at the bank, but I began to get involved in the city affairs. I was on the board of trustees for the Pacific University. I served a time on the city council as well. But after many years, almost 30 years in the dry goods store, I determined it was about time to retire. And so I decided I would spend time with my family and friends before the cobwebs set in. Now, the history books say that I've been called the pioneer merchant of Forest Grove for bringing in modern methods of merchandising. Now, I'm not sure about all of that, but I do know that my customers would say that they would compliment me on the arrangement of the store and the ease at which they would find the products that they were looking for. Apparently, I did set a path for future generations of shop owners. Well, I spend a lot of my free time bicycling with Mrs. Bailey. I believe bicycling is a salve for the soul. Now, I met Mrs. Bailey, the then Miss Ella Luck, when I was visiting family and friends in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, after my first wife, Minnie, had passed away. It was just by coincidence that Ella and Minnie are first cousins. So I married two first cousins. Well, Ella came back with me to Forest Grove, and we began to set up house, and Ella got involved in the city as well. Her, along with Mrs. Rogers, established the library in 1911. Well, I have three things to leave with you. First of all, I want you to shop locally. A bank, and I understand there's a farmer's market in town. Secondly, exercise. I understand that bicycling is still important in Oregon. And thirdly, join your local library. Thank you very much.